And with my asset created, I can jump into my script that I created, essentially a shell for my assets, not really doing anything. And I'm taking taking inspiration from the other Sandbox toys that we have, where it has a create, destroy, reset setup, and then a lot of the same code can be duplicated. For example, one of the things I know I usually have to do is in the reset, I almost always want to clear the current sandbox scene, and this takes any past sprites or animations or anything else you need to get rid of, especially switching between toys. Okay, and of course, since I just filled that out, when my create function goes through, I'm just going to go ahead and call the reset. That way I don't have to keep rewriting the create function and reset. I'll just use my reset to do everything. And now I need to create a sprite to show off that background I just created. And there are other tutorials that show all the details of creating a sprite. And I'm going to label this to make it a little more, make it easier to track what's going on. So the background, I'm going to say it's going to be right in the middle of the screen. And I already know, after creating several background sprites with a general camera size, it's 175 usually for a 1024 by 768 image. And of course I want to add that. Let me move this up a little bit so we get the full view. And of course, whenever I create a sprite, I do need to add it to a scene. Now if I take a minute to load this, the asset should get loaded unless I start getting a crash like I did before. And if I go to my assets, and nothing is showing up, so as usual, check the console log. Unknown command reset. So yeah, that was a simple mistake. Call my assets. Now you might have noticed a lot of console spam, and the reason for that is whenever I'm creating a lot of assets, I go to the main.cs in the root and I find asset database .echo info, and that's normally set to false. Out of the box when you clone Torch2D, that's false. But I like to set it to true. Now this will dramatically increase the output that goes to the console, but it makes it very easy for you to track down every minute detail of what asset has been declared, scanned, is being acquired, show all kinds of errors. It's just very handy to have. Alright, so again, now that I'm resetting my assets instead of the sandbox scene, let me try running that again. Beautiful. This is very good. Obviously this is not the image I'm looking for, but this means my sprite has been created, but it does not have a valid asset. It can render, but it's not rendering what we want. So we get this little placeholder image, and this is a great thing to look for. If you're making complex scenes and you start seeing this specific orange in text, that means there's something wrong with one of your assets. Whether your script is pointing to the wrong ID or your asset isn't formed correctly. Let me just back out of this real quick. Now let's talk about the image. This is the variable I want to set. This is the property on my sprite I want to set. And I can't just go, if I go back to my module, I see that it's, or not my module, my background image. Its name is background image. That's not enough though. When I actually go to add this, the background image is the name, but the asset ID is actually the owning module, which is my assets, background image. This is the full asset ID, and this is what you assign to an asset field for a sprite. In this case, this is an image. If I want to show an animation, it would still be dot animation my assets background image. And this sets it up nicely where I could have a background.png inside of my assets, and I could have a background.png inside of toy assets, and they won't conflict with each other because they could even have the same name background image, but it gets scoped with my assets. Now there are some restrictions, but we don't have to get in them completely. So now that I've assigned this image, if if I run Torque 2D and all is well, there's my background. It fits really nicely as I run Torque 2D. I get full screen view, which is good. And if I jump down here, this is really nice too. If you can see this, loading asset into memory. This is happening on my asset's background image. The asset manager is acquiring it, and it's getting the ID from file, and then it finished acquiring, and there's a reference count of 1. What that means is I have one object using the background image asset, and this is a great way for you to track the memory and track what your assets are doing, and it's intelligent too. So if I were to switch toys, this asset would be unacquired if it's not being used anywhere else. So this is one of the great things about having the asset echo, or the asset manager echo info spitting out. So that's excellent. That's the first step. I created an image asset, I created a sprite, I assigned the asset ID to my sprite's image, and I had it rendering. And that's excellent. That's the first part. So from here I'm going to start creating more and more image assets and start putting them up on the screen. Alright, so I need to get back into my script. I'm just going to close out all the files I've been creating. Okay, so I want to start showing all the sprites, and I want to show them kind of as they've appeared. And to do that, I can create multiple functions and say, create background and everything, but just for the sake of time and just showing a nice progression, I'm going to just keep creating things inside of the reset function, which is safe because every time the reset is called, everything gets cleared out and then all the sprites are added again. So let me start with, let's just display one of the soldier sprites. So I'm going to create a soldier sprite. Give it an asset ID of soldier, I don't know, run image. Put it at the center, and I'm going to make its size even 2020. And this should make it fairly large and put it in the center. And there's one new thing. There's a new field I want to modify. I need to set its frame. And what this is doing is saying in this image asset that I'm using, I want to use the 5th frame. And of course I need to add it to the scene. So hopefully if I don't have a corrupted image and looks like I don't have any real syntax problems, which Torque will let me know immediately. There it goes. So you can see here's my soldier, and if you can look at his image and compare it to the sprite sheet, that is the 5th frame. If I were to change this to say 0 and run, you see the image has changed. There's something else handy you can kind of do. It's not often that you're going to see me advocate the idea of editing a script and then reloading the sandbox. I usually like to shut down and do a lot more editing. So just to show it off though, I'm going to change this to cell 5 again, and instead of shutting down Torque, I'm just going to hit reload toy, and that reloaded my script.